So this project, this repair, took on a whole new turn. And it's finished. Come and take a look. Got a long piece of 120 grit sandpaper here on my bench, and I'm just cleaning off the bottom of the fretboard thus. Alright, this binding repair should be no trouble. You may be able to see where I've done it, but it'll be okay. It will be okay. So I've got a strip of binding. Now, this binding is darker cream, but I can see where the polyurethane is still on the binding. It goes exactly this color, so pretty soon it'll all match. Now I've cut a couple of pieces here for the side pieces. I'll have to cut a new one for the end. My dots are slightly larger than the ones that were already in the fretboard, but that really doesn't matter. They're close, really close. Okay, so even though the wing pieces are now glued on, I'm going to stop working on that neck before I go investing more effort in it. Just because there are some things I'm not happy about at the tenon end, and because, you know, when you're doing something and you're constantly thinking, I wish I had done that thing that I initially wanted to do, but now I've invested so much in this other plan, I'll just stick to it. Well, that's where I'm at now, and I don't really like that. When I can't even remember where the old neck is. Oh, it's sitting over there in another part of the workshop. When I first decided that I was going to replace this neck, what I said to myself is, I'm actually going to replace it and make it a bolt-on neck. A lot of Epiphone Les Pauls do have a bolt-on neck, and I know, I mean, there is something to be said for glued-in necks, and there's something to be said for bolt-on necks as well, not the least of which is if it breaks, which it shouldn't, because it's going to be a good one, you can just take it out easily, and there will be nothing damaged, no risk of damage by taking it out, and you can just bolt in another one. Plus, there is the challenge of doing the conversion. I think that would be a cool thing to do. That's what I said in my head initially, but then I decided to settle for, and it really was settle for making a replica of that neck that I didn't actually like. So I'm going to do a bolt-on. One incredibly roughly cut out headstock. Now let's go at this with my spindle sander. Well, I didn't show you me actually using the spindle sander because the focus of this video is just about replacing the neck, not really all the steps of building the new one. So I've glued on the fretboard. I've taken the block and the clamps off. There were just a couple of small gaps around the edge, so I've put some more glue in and clamped those up tightly. I find this about most aspects of this job, that it's much more difficult to work on a guitar that you didn't build or that you're not in the process of building, because you have to work with what already exists. So this is the existing fretboard. And I know that some people process their fretboards almost fully before they put them on, but I found it much more difficult to clamp this on because it was already radiused, and I guess most importantly, it already had the frets in. Whereas when I glue my fretboards on, they're flat and there are no frets, so it's just an easier job. But anyway, I guess such is the life of someone who repairs guitars. I can't really see myself getting into doing much guitar repair, but this is fun. While that last little gap glues up. I'm now having to think about the fact that I'm going to be permanently altering the body. And so I've made a template, a routing template to route the enlarged neck pocket for where I'm going to bolt this neck in. And there's really no going back once I start removing wood from the body. I've made marks along each side of the template to indicate where the frets fall, and the tape's coming off slightly, but you can still see where I've done that on the body, just to make sure I get everything lined up nicely. Okay, I guess we just do this. I can see, because of where the fretboard was sitting, that all of this piece here is going to have to go, and there's no need to use the router for all of that. So to make my work a little bit easier, I'm going to cut and chisel out a chunk of wood here, just so that the router isn't doing more work than it needs to. Surprisingly easy to do when you've got the cut there, and I'm finding this wood, this mahogany wood, is really quite brittle. Okay, that'll do. I'll do the rest with the router. Okay, slight problem, not insurmountable. My bit is not quite going to reach the bottom of that neck pocket. I'm going to have a look around and see if I've got a longer one. I probably do. So I was able to find a longer router bit kicking around in the workshop, and I routed out the neck pocket that I want based on the shape of the neck, and that seems to have gone well. That defect there, where it looks like a router bit has been pressed down for a length along the wood, that was in there. You may have noticed it if I showed you up close when I took the neck out. That was in there already, and that's a factory defect. I might actually fill that in with epoxy. I have this scrap piece of totara, which is a nice wood, similar in lightness, I think, to the mahogany of which the existing guitar body is made. So I've just traced the heel of the neck, and I'll cut that out. So with some cutting and some sanding, I've got this. It's perhaps not as tight as I would like. It's very snug. But what I'm going to do is put that in there with some epoxy, and the epoxy will fill any gaps in the side, and it'll become rock hard. You can't really see what I'm doing very well, but I don't make this process optimized for you. I make it optimized for the guitar. Sorry, you're not that important. I'm kidding. You're very important. Where would I be without you? Okay, I'll come back to this later in the day and tidy up. So I've got a new tool that I'm trying out. It's I'm still getting used to the appropriate technique, but it seems to be going all right-ish. It's a spoke shave. It's juddering and being slightly rough. Every now and then I'll get a good cut. It could just be that it's not very sharp. It does feel... yeah, it feels quite sharp. I'll get used to how to set these things up, but it is roughing off some wood for me. Just pull the blade back a little bit. Now it's not taking enough. Maybe that's it. The blade was out too much. Now it seems to be behaving a bit better. Yes, that's good. Sanding can really show you where the uneven spots still are. Getting there. I'm at a point now where I don't think I'll use the spoke shave anymore, because that took stuff off pretty quickly, and I could probably control things a bit better using files and rasps and sanding now. Of course, I'll use my Shinto saw rasp, which is an old favorite, and this, which is new. It's an unbranded, it's meant to look like what's called a dragon rasp, which you can buy from Stuart McDonald and other places, quite expensive. I didn't pay that much for this, but I found it really good for shaping the concave curve of the volute. I'll do the same around that end of the neck as well. I'm just in the process of finishing the neck now. I've used Danish oil on other things, a couple of pieces of furniture actually, but not on guitar necks. I do like it though, it's a nice finish. It provides a little bit more protection than what you might think of as a normal oil finish, because it's basically a blend of oil and polyurethane. So where I've built up part of the body there to make the neck pocket shallower, I don't want to leave that color. I don't want to leave it looking like natural wood, but I also, I'm not fussed about getting an exact color match. I just want it to stand out less than it does. This is the first time that I've tried this. It's a product by Mini Wax called Polyshades, and well, as the label says, it's a mixture of stain and polyurethane, and it's a black one. So I'm just going to use that over the natural wood as a way of staining it. I will still use a clear top coat of polyurethane. Let's see how it goes. So I had a bit of a disaster opening the can. I managed to knock it and it went everywhere. Fortunately, I had this piece of cardboard down and I was able to keep it relatively contained. I did get some on the neck, but I cleaned it off quickly with mineral spirits. Anyway, made a mess. But I've put down my first coat, which you didn't see because I was, well, annoyed. I'll put down a few more coats and keep the brush soaking in mineral spirits. I didn't show you, I want to get to the end quickly. I enjoy this project, but I want to get this video series out of the way. I've got other things to do, but I used my polishing machine and polishing pads with polishing compounds to polish. Can you see that? Oh, it isn't perfect. I can see areas that might need touching up, but it is in an area where you're never going to be looking. No, it definitely isn't perfect. But if I sand any more off there, I may go too deep. And I think I can live with what that is and where it is, namely directly behind the heel of the neck. At any rate, you can't notice from a distance that this wasn't a bolt-on neck guitar originally. I'm going to reassemble the guitar. So, it's finished. It is done. The neck has been replaced. This guitar now has a bolt-on neck, and it's a really, really nice neck. Much nicer than the one that was on there before. I guess all that remains is to string it up and to make sure that it plays well. So that's what I'll do next. Well, I think that's a success. I think it is. I'd say it sounds good, as though that's a credit to me. It probably already sounded good. Epiphones are okay guitars. Not the necks so much, but this one now has a good neck as well. So, I should probably make an agreement with myself and with you that I will not take on or begin any new guitar projects until I have finished the ones that you've already seen me working on. Yes, I promise.
Well,
until next time. Yes, until next time. I've really got to clear my workshop out. Get all these guitars out of here. Beginning with this one.